This is GARIS Masculist MGTOW flyers, that is 2 3-page essays on the themes of masculism and MGTOW, written by and read aloud by Prof. Dr. Hugo de Garis. This is flyer number 367, entitled Biconscious Relationships. Description. This flyer discusses the nature of biconscious relationships, that is, where both the man and the woman in a couple are biconscious, that is, they have had both their feminist and their masculist consciousnesses raised. Biconscious relationships are superior to traditional relationships in many ways, as this flyer demonstrates. It also discusses how society will change when there are millions of biconscious relationships. Now the flyer itself. Biconscious Relationships by Prof. Dr. Hugo de Garis. Email profhugodegaris@yahoo.com. Website profhugodegaris.wordpress.com. This flyer describes the type of relationship that's possible when the man and the woman in a couple are both biconscious. That is, both have had both their feminist and their masculist consciousnesses raised. It describes what hopefully may become a new cultural norm, lived by millions, later billions of people. Imagine a couple, a man and a woman, where both of them are biconscious, that is, they have both had their feminist and their masculist consciousnesses raised. What kind of relationship would such a couple be capable of? How might it be superior to relationships that are the norm today? And what might its superiorities be? This flyer attempts to answer such questions. I'm a theorist. That's not surprising, given my intellectual interest in pure math, physics, and computer theory. I try to apply this kind of mind to my masculism as well. So when I'm confronted with a situation that is new to me, that I think might be of interest to people who follow my masculist flyers and videos, I generalize like crazy, extrapolating my own experience to what might become a global norm. This flyer is about such an attempt at envisaging what a biconscious relationship might be like, and how millions of such relationships might affect society, even global culture, in time. Lately, I've been e-dating, using the power of the computer, living in a large population city, so that the e-dating company can take advantage of the large population to supply its customers with a large range of highly filtered candidates for potential relationships. This is not the first time I've tried e-dating, but this time I feel I've been lucky. I think I've found a woman with whom I could truly have a really good long-term relationship with, and that the advantage of this relationship that I've not really had before have got my creative juices flowing, wondering how such a relationship might be generalizable, that is, applied on a mass scale, asking the question, what kind of relationships between the sexes would be possible when both sexes, male and female, are well informed about masculist ideas, which is definitely not the case in the year that I'm writing/videoing this, that is 2020? Since feminist ideas are now well known, by adding masculist ideas to them, the level of awareness of gender political issues will be doubled. Once masculist ideas have spread throughout the culture, the way feminist ideas have, then we can talk about a general biconscious society, that is, one in which nearly everyone, at least the thinking strata of society, has become biconscious. That is, people are aware equally of how men oppress women as how women oppress men, who then work towards the creation of a society in which both sets of oppressions are removed from the culture by raising people's consciousnesses regarding masculist ideas, changing the gender laws to make them men fair, and to socially engineer our cultures so that both sexes feel that gender issues are largely old hat, passé, relegated to the dustbin of history, but we are far from that idyllic state today. My conception of what a biconscious relationship might be like is prompted by my own experience with what it feels like for me to be in a relationship with a woman who is biconscious. There are very few such women at the present time for the simple reason that masculist consciousness has not yet spread widely through the culture, and that spread may take a decade or two. Look how long it took second-wave feminism to spread through the culture. Second-wave feminism started essentially in the 60s with intellectual women writing books about their feminist ideas, which gradually took over the media, which in turn spread these ideas to the masses, first to the upper middle professional type women, then to the middle class, and finally, a decade or two later, to the much dumber working class women. Probably the spread of masculist ideas will take a similar amount of time. Masculism today is at the intellectuals crying in the wilderness stage, with a handful of men writing masculist books, getting on the internet, making scores of masculist and MGTOW videos which present their ideas. This flyer is one of those ideas, probably years ahead of its time, but it's no less interesting for that. One of the tasks of sages, that is, intellectuals, is to imagine what might be possible in the future by thinking new thoughts, having ideas that no one has thought before, or at least that the thinker thinks he is the first to have. This flyer thinks about what biconscious relationships might be like. Even the term is new. Most readers have probably not even heard the term before, so immediately ask themselves, what is a biconscious relationship? Its definition was given in the first paragraph of this flyer, so let's start thinking about what such a relationship might be like and to ponder on its superiorities compared to traditional relationships. What will be new in such a relationship is that the woman in such a couple will be informed of masculist ideas, so she won't dare push feminist bitchiness onto her boyfriend, who is biconscious as well. That is, he has also had his masculist consciousness raised and can harangue his girlfriend with masculist rhetoric as readily as she can harangue him with feminist rhetoric. They will be a match for each other. And in fact, since anyone who is familiar with masculist ideas knows that women traditionally oppress men far worse than vice versa. For example, women's financial parasitism, women's manslavery, women's fluffy feminist hypocrisy in the divorce courts, women's many decades-lasting gender crimes against men, for example, paternity fraud, lying to their men about taking the pill when she really wants to get pregnant, and then slamming a paternity suit on him. No para, that's paternity rejection right, etc. So the masculist rhetoric of the man in the couple will be able to outblast the feminist rhetoric of the woman in the couple. The woman will know that she can't behave as a feminazi bigot to her man because she knows that her man will not tolerate such bigotry, especially since he is intellectually armed with masculist ideas, masculist rhetoric, and is capable of slamming back at her, giving her more than a taste of her own gender political medicine. She would fear losing him with such a feminazi outburst. So her knowledge of masculism will temper her impulse to lash out at her man with a monoconscious feminist tirade. A similar logic applies in reverse. If the man in the couple gets pissed off with some behaviour or attitude of his woman, then he knows that he should not blast her with masculist rhetoric, because he knows that she is also biconscious, so knows both his masculist arguments and has her feminist arguments as well. Since both members of the couple are biconscious, they'll be in a much stronger position to understand each other's gender plight than would be the case where the woman is a feminist and the man knows nothing about masculism, and neither does the woman. This lack of symmetry then tempts the woman to lash out feminazi style, feeling justified in such an outburst, because she feels she has the right to be feminazi bitchy, because she is very aware of how men oppress women, but knows nothing about how women oppress men. Her monoconsciousness generates her feminazi bitchiness, and that makes her much more vulnerable to being dumped by her man, who gets royally pissed off by her feminazi tirades. With both partners being biconscious, a level of mutual gender political understanding is enabled, leading to a much higher level of mutual understanding and tolerance. Biconsciousness leads to a much greater level of calm within the couple, because in practice, gender political issues rarely come up, since both partners are aware of the traditional problems that the feminists and the masculists have brought to light. But there is much more that biconsciousness can give to a couple. One is a much higher level of respect on the part of the man for his woman. If his woman is a real emo FIP, that is an equal moral obligations FIP, that is financially independent person. He will respect her so much more if he feels she is his equal, with whom he can be fully himself, feeling she is pulling her financial weight as much as he does, and vice versa. Men who have had their masculine consciousness raised will not tolerate a fluffy anyway. So if a woman starts whining about the man, expressing traditional female parasitic attitudes, then that woman runs a serious risk of being dumped by her man, who will have had his level of intolerance against manslavery by a fluffy parasite considerably raised due to his exposure to masculist ideas. The woman, since she is biconscious, will know that he knows that fluffies are not to be tolerated, who are to be treated as manslavers, that is, as vermin, by masculists. So she will despise fluffies as much as he does, so won't dare express fluffy attitudes to her man, through considerable fear of losing him in a very angry scene, as the man, intellectually armed with masculist ideas, would crash her with masculist venom, the way anyone today in the advanced world would seriously lash out at a true slaver of Negroes. Negro slavery has died out pretty much worldwide. Similarly, as masculism spreads throughout the world, manslavery will go the same way. However, getting to that stage will be very painful for women, as millions of them fail to adapt to masculist expectations on them to FIP up, that is, become FIPs, by bothering to get a career competent education and become FIPs as adults, so that they can pull their own financial weight and not expect to parasite off the money and labour of a man. The quality of the sex with biconscious couples will also increase, as the man has had his feminist consciousness raised and will expect the women to express her sexuality and sexual desire as readily as he does, and will not feel threatened by the sexual power of a woman who gives full throttle to her sexual desire. The level of sexual joy within the couple should then increase greatly. What about the more practical side of biconscious relationships? How can the men in such relationships engineer things so that the traditional negative traits of women can be combated? For example, women's evolved tendency to nag their men, who try to control men, moulding men the way women want? I can give the solution that I use with my female partner, and that is to see her on a part-time basis, so that a kind of hunger is created to see her after a period apart. There's a lot of truth to the quip, quote, "Absent makes the heart grow fonder." It's important then that the couple live the 2A2F, or twef, that is, 2 apartments, 2 FIPs, lifestyle. That is, that they have their own respective apartments or houses, and that they are both FIPs, so that there is no financial parasitism by one of the partners on the other. Such parasitism would only generate a lack of respect for the parasiting partner by the partner parasited upon, and increase the odds of the relationship dying. Mutual respect is a major factor in a successful biconscious relationship. In my own case, I see my partner on weekends, heading back to my own apartment Monday afternoons, having spent 2 days and 2 nights with her, mostly in her house, because my bachelor apartment is smaller and filled with large computer screens and books. Another factor that is very important in a biconscious relationship is a high level of compatibility that the e-dating computers can help with. For example, since I'm a retired prof in math, physics and computing, I would automatically eliminate female candidates who had only a bachelor's degree so that I would be able to respect the woman intellectually. Research shows that if the IQ difference in a couple is more than about 5 IQ points, then the relationship usually fails. The smarter partner gets bored and feels he/she can do better, and they drift apart due to a lack of intellectual respect. So intellectual equality is a critical factor that should not be ignored. By tway-twiffing, a higher degree of civility between the couple is generated. By living together full-time, it's too easy to become complacent, lazy, short-tempered, and hence start whining, complaining, nagging, bitching, etc. The constant threat or possibility that the other partner could so easily walk away if the first partner is not nice, tolerant and fun, sexy, playful, creative, etc. with his/her partner, then the very quality of the relationship is threatened. With a tway-twiff relationship, the only thing that holds it together is the quality of the relationship. If the quality seriously dips, then one of the two can so easily just walk away. So tway-twiffing virtually enforces the two partners to be nice to each other, to be civil to each other. Otherwise, the relationship itself may not last. By seeing each other only weekends and special trips, a hunger is generated to see each other during the days apart. In practice, my partner and I email each other with the day's news and views, because we found that remaining incommunicado for 5 days during the week was too long. So we email daily and meet up face-to-face weekends. It seems to be working out so far. This is the end of part 1.